Hi everyone, it's been a while. This is the developer commentary about the Noble Phantasm system I made a few days ago. I decided to split my update videos into a demonstration video and a longer developer commentary explanation video, so if people only want to see the finished work, they can just view the demonstration video. But if there are people interested in how it works, then they can view the extended commentary about the system and how it will fit in my game. Before I get into the system, I just want to update everyone on the status of the project. Over the past few weeks, I migrated my project over to the Unreal Engine 5, which is a new version of Unreal Engine that has a UI overhaul and features some interesting new rendering systems called Lumen and Nanite. Lumen is this new dynamic lighting technology that I can barely run with my GTX 1070, and Nanite is this new static mesh rendering technology that can greatly increase performance for massive levels. When I was migrating to Unreal Engine 5, I was most interested in the Nanite technology. I think it might be able to help people run my game better, so I decided to start getting familiar with it. I'm studying how to properly use Nanite in my spare time so I can create bigger and cooler levels. You may have noticed that the in-game UI looks a little different. I am redesigning the UI to make it a bit more intuitive and easier to look at. I changed up the color scheme to be more standard, green for health, blue for mana or magic circuit gauge, and then there's this yellow bar. It's a resource bar for a system that's replacing the critical star system. A while ago, I made a critical star system that tried to replicate the critical star system found in Fate Grand Order, but I found it to be kind of distracting from the core gameplay, because you are kind of forced to chase after these critical stars that drop on the ground. I decided to implement a more traditional gauge system found in typical action games like Metal Gear Rising and Yakuza, which allow me to come up with systems that add upon the core gameplay rather than distract from it. Okay, now I will talk about my Noble Phantasm system. Noble Phantasms, or more specifically, Noble Phantasm activations, are super cool ultimate attacks in the Fate universe. They're only usable if the character has a Noble Phantasm, which means most human characters in my game can't use a Noble Phantasm activation because they don't have one. My system is heavily inspired by Fate Extilla's Noble Phantasm system, where there's a cutscene that plays when you activate a Noble Phantasm. I think this system best captures the awesomeness and power of a Noble Phantasm activation. I haven't implemented a cost for the activation yet, but there will be one because this is designed to be a servant's ultimate attack move. You won't be able to spam this attack willy-nilly early in the game. After the cutscene finishes, affected enemies will take a bunch of damage and get knocked down instead of hit stunned. Not every Noble Phantasm activation will be just a damaging attack. I am going to get a little creative with these ultimate moves, and they may function and look different than what you're used to in other Fate games. Now I want to talk a little bit about some systems I'm planning on implementing in the future. The combat system is almost finished. It's not that polished yet, but it's almost feature complete. I want to implement 2 more combat features before I really focus on polishing, which are alternative attacks and limits. Alternative attacks will be attacks that activate with your right mouse button. Alternative attacks will be stuff like Magecraft for your player character or runes for Lancer, that kind of stuff. It will be designed to give players a meaningful option for how they can approach combat encounters in the game. I plan for limits to be kind of similar to Kingdom Hearts limits. It's these cool, but not as cool as Noble Phantasm cool, attack moves that won't play a cutscene and happen in real time. It will be something all characters will have access to, including servants. Details are a little fuzzy on limits, but I'll talk about it a bit more in the later development updates. I won't be working on these combat systems just yet. I first want to create a bond system kind of like the one you find in Persona games. I plan to have limits and alternative attacks dependent on bond progression, so that players can learn more about the characters and the world in the game, while learning awesome new techs. I think the characters and world are the most interesting things in the Nasuverse, and I would like to expand upon that with interesting character interactions. This video is kind of getting long, so I'll stop here. I don't want to overload people with information. Thanks for following my development update, and if you'd like, put your computer specs in the comments. I want to keep my audience's PC specs in mind when I'm designing levels. I'll see you guys next time.